أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So this is our second session on Surah Al-Ikhlas. 4 verses. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Say He is Allah, Ahad, Allahu Samad, Allah the Samad, eternally besought of all. Lam yalid wa lam yulad, He begets not, nor is He begotten. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahadun, and there is none comparable unto Him. And as we were starting last week, we started with this hadith narration. And there are many narrations like that, which talks about the fada'il, the properties or the, let's say properties of Quran. Such narrations exist. And in here, Rasulullah is saying that, can one of you recite 1/3 of the Quran in one night? And Sahaba says, who can do that? It's too hard. And Rasulullah says, Surah Al-Ikhlas is equal to 1/3 of the Quran. So, and as we were discussing or mentioning what scholars understood from that, one that they say is Surah Al-Ikhlas constitutes the 1/3 of the main message of the Quran, which is Tawheed. So we can also understand from here that short surahs are such reminders, very concise summaries of the entire Quran. And so if we can load these surahs with the proper meaning, understanding in our minds, reciting them could make or could become fruitful for us, because it will then remind too many things to us very quickly. Okay. So last time we started with Qul huwa. A good portion of last week's discussion was about this huwa. And the example we gave was, you start conversation by say he, and so it must be that you have the notion of a he in your head, so that when the conversation starts, you know what we are talking about here. And we were questioning, do we have this notion of a he? And pretty much, as I remember from our last week's discussion, and please correct me, so we do see a constant change in front of our eyes. Things are changing, which sometimes we call as time. Like things are changing, continuously changing. And an action requires a doer. If there is a verb, then there's a doer of that verb. This is whatever you would like to call it, humans predisposition, maybe. Like, I don't know. I cannot think otherwise. I cannot see an action without a doer. Whenever I see an action, there is a doer. Who that doer is the question here. Okay? Who or what did this is the question. So we see this ongoing change. Look at yourself. Like your skin is changing, your hair is changing, you are changing moment by moment. Not only physically, your moods are changing moment by moment. Sometimes you don't know why this is happening to you. Why am I feeling upset today? Or why am I feeling happy today? Sometimes even you are seeking for a reason that something might have triggered, right? This is how it is. So things are constantly changing. But what or who makes this? And there's also a distinction between what and who in English. Because if I say what causes this, generally I am, like when we say who, we are looking for a conscious being behind the scenes for an action. If it is a what, it is unconscious things that we would consider. So the changes that I am experiencing, that I'm going through, are they actions that are seemingly random, or they do require a conscious effort? Like for example, if you see a meaningful text, you would say, who wrote this? You wouldn't say what wrote this, because it's a meaningful text. So you say that somebody put effort here, knowledge here, a conscious being was behind the scenes because a meaning is being conveyed. So when I consider the changes that I am observing, that I am going through, like nails growing, let's say, hair getting white, I am getting older, children growing, sun rising, sun setting. So it looks like it's a meaningful message is taking place, but who is behind the scenes becoming the question. So this is why the notion of he here is I'm seeking for more of a conscious being makes more sense. But anyways, even if you would like to take it as it, still, this is a human search for centuries. Humans are searching, what does this? Why does apple fall? And they try to come up with an equation saying that because each and every time apple was falling the same way, so they said, oh, then this equation is acting. Things like that. And our last Friday's discussion, I realized another purpose of kul, say, which was Friday's discussion was about evolution. And when we were having that conversation, I realized a bit more the importance of the language in shaping my thoughts. So Quran, as if pinpointing the words with which to think. Because if, for example, a language which is developed around naturalism, and because of that, tainted with its worldview, if I try to explain, if I try to understand or explain another worldview, such as Tawheed, using those terminology, I'm having a hard time, is what I realized. So by Quran, using this qul in many of those surahs, or throughout the Quran, actually, there are many verses which start with qul. It is also, maybe as a secondary or tertiary meaning, highlighting the importance of how to shape my language around this new worldview. So Quran is really building up a new language around Tawheed as well. This might be another reason why when studying Quran, we should try to reconsider our preconceived notions. Oh, I know what Tawheed means. Oh, I know what house means. I know what heart means, for example. No, Quran is reshaping those concepts. I might know it partially, but Quran is either redefining it or correcting it. This is another way to look at Quran. Because if I say I already know and sit in front of Quran with that, where did my preconceived notion come from? A different worldview. But how correct or aligned that worldview was with Quran. So Quran's worldview that I should be taking, or the worldview that Quran is trying to instill on me. So this is another aspect, and inshallah we can discuss more about this on Friday, about the qul aspect of it. So we talked about qul and huwa, and then Allahu ahadun. We talked about Allah as well. So the example we talked about was somebody steps in and says, oh, he is Jack, the hardworking person. So for such a thing to make sense, first I need to have a he, as we mentioned. But Jack here is a proper name which tells little about the person of interest. But more so is what comes. So ahadun is the description of the person of interest. And now ahad. So one of the things from last week, as I remember, ahad was meaning that it's, first of all, it's not 1, 2, like 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a counting number. That 1 in here does not mean a counting number. So our question to Darar 2 was, why not 2, right? So that 1 is not 1 less than 2. This is 1 and only. Okay. But since we gave enough time to Darar 2, would you like probably you have already thought about 2 creators, why it is unlikely? No? I mean, they are 2 very good, nice friends with each other.
I mean, I think like very naturally idea that like if there is riba, then you will ultimately be seeing kind of like signatures throughout, so we should be observing something that shows that. But I think the way that she's like every word no, I lost my train of thought for the distraction. Yeah, but also this idea that like if there are 2 gods, we expect some sort of clash happen because like there's a power dynamic, right? Like how do you decide who's doing what?
Yeah.
So it's hard to assign. If everybody had a job, there shouldn't be any confusion, right? Because then you want to do what you want to do, the other god wants to do whatever they want to do. So there isn't coming together and one making sense where we see like one actual signature.
Okay.
My interpretation, none of them.
Okay.
Until we're aware.
Okay. So then, is a comment coming from there?
Oh no.
Okay. No. Okay. But then, let me ask it as a question then. Quran is suggesting that Allah is Ahad. And as we said, Quran is guidance, meaning it will say that art museum is at such and such place. So it should be confirmable. So it's a guidance, but for me, I need to take the guidance and see if it's correct or if it is really matching with the reality that I live with. So what are or is, if any, evidence for Allahu Ahadun? What do you think? There is something on chat. Okay, it is hard to repeat. Oh, hard to hear probably what Darat was saying. So Darat was saying that if there were 2 gods, then there would be, I'm paraphrasing what I understood from Darat who understood something from Zerin, supposedly. So there would be a chaos, or there would be 2 signatures, meaning I would see a pattern of separate doers, because everybody has a style, and there would be points of disagreement which would have been observable in the existence that I have, but do I see such a thing? In the absence of that, so I say there must be 1 making it. Okay, so yes, any evidence for that claim? Creator says, I am one and only. But what supports that claim? Zaratu's suggestion was in line with that, saying that I do see a single signature in the whole of the existence, right? And let me see if Zarar is here. Probably he's going to raise a question about that. Zarar is good with raising such questions. Oh, Zarar is here. Okay, before he asks,
Oh, okay, yeah, probably.
I should ask his question. So like probably he could find somewhere in some corner of the huge cosmos and say that, look, this doesn't look like anywhere else's pattern. Or he would say, well, deep under the ocean, tomorrow we will find a new thing which is unlike anything you have seen and it has a different signature? Or what would make you think that it's a different signature and whatnot? Like that sort of questions might arise. So, yes,
What about dinosaurs?
dinosaurs,
They look different.
they look different.
Their sound was different.
You don't even know their sound.
They look like nothing in creation today.
Yes.
But I
So
guess I was
chickens.
thinking more like, I was thinking more like this idea of like, there's life, there's that, there's like this things that are kind of cohesion, but the way in which we die are different, the way in which, like, we're all breathing supposedly, but we breathe different things. So we have different needs, but the same, like cycle is there, if that makes sense, if we're looking in terms of life. So anywhere you will find something, sure, it will look different, it might look whatever, but like it has a beginning, it has an end, and it has this kind of like time period in the middle. And so there is at least, I guess that's where I'm kind of focusing on, is that if we're considering specifically like life as a.
Mhm. Okay, life as an example is what Daratu is suggesting and saying that there are things which are like a common pattern across things, like things are breathing something, air or not, or even it's an anaerobic, but still they do have a different way of doing the same thing or achieving the same thing. So there are commonalities all across the let's say universe. So they share a common point here and there, but there exists a single coherent picture, if you like. And the harmony between them is the common signature. Yes.
So I just want to book the time when you are done with this question. Before going to new question or new topic, I want to say something about this one, but once you are done with it.
Sorry.
Once you are done with this question,
Okay.
collecting all these comments and so on, I like to say something, but after you are done. with it.
Now we are excited.
Maybe.
Yes, the time so that you wouldn't make a transition to another topic quickly. I don't want to track. So yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I'll just get.
Okay.
Okay. So the only reason I said that, like, when we say evidence and claim, and these words I also use often. When I talk about the ayahs in Quran, I say, there's a claim and so on. So when you say it yourself, it sounds really nice, but when you see it on the screen, so it sounds as if, the approach is, we are living our life happily, and then some guys comes, or Quran comes and make a claim out of nowhere. Like, oh, Yusuf, do you know what? Your father was not this guy. Actually, you had such and such, I don't know, you are descendant of such and such king.
Okay.
Make such a claim. And then you start looking for the evidence. But without this claim, you would be happy to, continue living with your current family. Maybe or rather, it's the case that Quran takes our attention to somewhere in our life, which is already there.
Okay.
Meaning, like when we ask the question why Quran is talking about one God and what, like He's being one, and it's talking about who and what is it that, it boils down the same thing when we start explaining, but the way we maybe formulate this would be different.
Okay.
Like what it is talking about in my life. So my assumption is that we already have this notion of huwa or notion of oneness in our life already, but probably it is so covered with other things, and Quran is now trying to clean there's dirt on it,
Mhm.
so that our the steps will be more grounded in life. Otherwise, it's not a claim, or it's not like we don't need to find evidence for it, because it's something that we already have access to. It's something that we already know,
Mhm.
and Quran is attracting our attention there. Maybe I'm not
Okay.
clear. I apologize.
No, I do see that point. Yes, you're right. Okay. Like I do see the problem probably with the word claim in this sense, but evidence is requiring witnessing, and witnessing is part of my job. So,
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that. So,
anyways, any other words that you would suggest?
no, I don't. Because this word that I would use.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Are you guys doing Zigal again? or-
Zigal? Okay, it's
what does it mean?
no fight. Was it something? No. What was it?
No, with the back. No, you have to.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. So I really don't know. Like as an English word, I don't know what to put there.
That would be better.
Yes, but I think I'm assuming that you got the point. Like,
Okay.
what is wrong with the claim?
So maybe the word generally claim sounds as if distant and unrelatable, as if like an insurance claim. So, but more so, Quran is coming with this description, like Atik came in and said that Jack is a hardworking person. So we say, well, how do I know Jack is hardworking? Like that's sort of a question we are asking now. Is the surah starts saying, say, he is Allah and he is one and only. Like, how do I know that? Because what I used to think was, well, it's nature, it's millions of years of evolution, and it happens by chance time to time. Well, it is laws of nature and whatnot. So these were my mixed understanding. And now somebody comes in and says, no, he is one and only. And of course, my first question is, how did you come up with that idea? Like, do you have anything to support that description? Because all our laboratories in here is saying that, look, it falls and gravity. Apparently, they're measuring it and doing everything and saying that here is my evidence that it happens by gravity. What is your evidence? How do you support your claim? Well, again, I mean, in this sense, you find a proper description of the words, but this is what we are looking for. How can I be sure and secure or confirm that he is Ahad, one and only? Last week, yeah, go ahead, Dua.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I think people also fall into that trap of thinking that there is fear to God's oneness or God's godliness, because like you see that share acting out in this world. So for example, if you see a very powerful ruler, you will see that, like that ruler has his subjects and there are different people doing different things for him. So I think we fall into the trap of thinking that God also has, share into his godliness. Like there are things that are doing tasks for him that he wouldn't have been able to otherwise. But I think like the trap in that is that we don't realize that, like unlike a ruler on this earth, like God isn't deficient. God is the creator of the things that we claim have a share in his godliness. So hence, like that must be like an act, if that makes sense.
Good, but again, you provided more description, right? But I was looking for an evidence from within what I experience, like describing him more up in the sky, let me say, is not becoming the evidence that I can confirm. Zarin?
Yes, I was trying to think about it along like the lines of day-to-day life. And I guess maybe one like an evidence for me is like the fact that I wake up and, well, maybe I can start with, I go to bed not really expecting to wake up as someone other than myself. So I am being, I guess, preserved and maintained like throughout sleep. And then when I wake up, I'm still in my house, same apartment. I didn't get like teleported to somewhere else. And then I go about my routine. I go outside, I walk to my workplace, the sidewalks and everything are typically the same unless there's some construction going on. But even that is something that's like normal to me. I wouldn't be too surprised given Philly as a city. So I think just like kind of being able to fall into like a routine of life is maybe an evidence for me. Like I have expectations and those expectations are consistently met and sustained and maintained. And so like I wouldn't expect to wake up one day and like the earth no longer has any oxygen or anything like that. That might be a bit of a drastic example, but if I walk to lab, like I would expect my lab to be there unless like something happened that I can also explain within a certain like pattern.
Like,
So again, like,
yeah, the air not being there is not too drastic to think about it this way. Like in Turkey or that region, for instance, gas is coming from Russia. And one morning, if Erdogan and Putin, for whatever reason, are not on their best terms, you wake up and no more gas. Putin was just going there and closing the gas that comes from Russia, right? So you wake up one day and oxygen valve is turned off. But this does not happen. Like as if all those trees are saying that, no, we have to keep catering Zerrin's need of oxygen. Or do they? But because this is the outcome, I am the one that's benefiting from those oxygen and many other living beings. So my need needs to be satisfied. So many things can go wrong. Actually, there's no reason for anything to go right the next moment. So many needs there are. Yet oxygen is there. You are there. You are being given existence. Or even if you think about your whole body, because right after the moment you die, all those cells which have whatever was keeping them together will start dissolving. As if the thing that keeps them together says, no, I'm not going to keep you guys together any further. And now they start going all separate ways. So what keeps this as it is right now? Because it does not have to. How do I know it does not have to? Because if the moment I die, they just go their ways and depart, which is a good sign that, oh, then there must be someone which is now keeping it together. But what is that? Who is that?
Again, I don't know if this is what you were looking for.
Okay.
But I think the way I'm thinking of it is like I thought to myself, what are some huas that I see commonly around me, right? And I think like even people who don't really believe in God, believe that there is something out there, like this notion of, like I hurt this person and today, like I fell while I was walking in the street, so you're like, wow, like karma is real. You give it the name of karma. Or you say, oh, the universe knows. If you send out positive energy into the universe, it'll send you positive energy back. The universe is so kind, like Mother Nature is so kind, So like we have all these notions of like, it is so crazy that, I went for a week to this place and I found my husband there. Like, what are the odds of that? Universe is crazy because people find like people who like match them exactly. So it's like, like you have all these big words to try and fill the gap because you feel like there is something out there that is looking out for you. And then I'm seeing the answer, like He is Huwa Allah. He is Allah, the one. And the way I'm thinking of the one is in terms of like everything is connected. So the person you hurt, the one who is the Rabb of that person is also the one who punished you. the rub of this person who is your husband is the one who knew that you would fit with him, and he brought him to your life. So that's how I'm thinking of it.
Mhm. And actually, this is a good description of ahad, as we were highlighting a distinction of ahad from wahid last week. And I gave a very bad example, but Birkan came up with a better one. So let me use Birkan's example for today. So like ahad is specifically meaning, let's say if Birkan is an engineer, yet at the same time he is an artist. So when, and also, are you also into music? Okay, music. So like some artistry, what else? And he has some hardworking personality as well. Okay, let's take these three. So when Birkan designs a new thing with his engineering skills, I also observe his artistry in here. Like iPhone was a good engineering product, but also there was this nice touch of artistry in there. When you look at it, you say that whomever designed this really knows that human doesn't like corners that much, and they made it with nice curvature, and it's not bulky but thin and whatnot. So these sort of things are observed in there. And you also see that, oh, they also demonstrated the hard work in here. So multiple qualities being manifest all at one place. This is ahad. But what does this practically mean? So when I look at myself, like as a child, I had many needs. I was in need of sun. I was in need of, which is a sustenance, let's say, for my eyes. But I was also in need of, let's say, plants, which is sustenance for my stomach. So all these were provided to me. But not only that, I needed to exist as a human being. So my existence was provided. So I was nurtured carefully by a merciful one. But on top of that, while all this was happening, it was done within an infinite wisdom. So I do observe a lot of wisdom in how, since my childhood, I have been growing. Because there are parts of my body which starts functioning over time. You see that the designer is saying that, okay, let's keep putting this. It will start functioning after some point. It was not functional up until a certain age. Then it started and saying that, oh, the designer had been there since the very beginning, carefully putting together things. So yeah, I observe wisdom, I observe knowledge. I also observe this willful decisions being made on me. As on last Friday, this was another topic of conversation. Choices are being made on me. So I could have become this way, but I became that way. So many choices are being made on me. So I say, oh, there is someone who keeps choosing. So these are all different manifestations that are taking place on me. But I am a coherent being, although all these different signatures are being manifest on me, which means they are coming from the same source. Like me functioning as a human being with all those different aspects together. Like imagine if for this phone, the engineering department versus art department. The engineering guys are saying that, no, we need to have this much of a thick phone. And art guys are saying that, no, we need to have a super thin. And then the engineering guy says, no, we cannot make such a phone. I mean, it has to be that thickness and whatnot. So, but is it going to be bulky? Is it going to be artful? So all are being manifest in harmony in me as a human. And I am just a micro example of the whole universe as well. I am functioning in line with another human being, another animal, or the sun and the moon and everything. So this harmonious creation, although despite there seems to be many different colors at play, but those colors working together is saying that the one who is acting must be one, because whatever I observe in that cell, in a single cell of my fingertip, the same harmony is there, but this cell is also in harmony with the rest of my body. So whomever is acting in here must be the one who is controlling the whole body. So it must be one and only. And none of these, like, it's not the cell itself, it's not the finger itself, none of those elements are acting by themselves. There must be one who is controlling all of them, and he is none of these things that I counted. So this is what ahad means. Let's go there too.
Pregnancy, I guess I only thought of it. because-
Pregnancy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
No, I couldn't hear and I couldn't be sure.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yeah. The reason why is 'cause you were talking about this idea, like, there is kind of, like this perfection that at each stage you're kind of growing, but oftentimes, like, so in my area of study, I guess we talk about, like, for example, like preterm birth and also other complications of like just having stillbirth even. And then we say it's like, sometimes we just don't know, but there's attributions we make. But then I guess like in context of, cause it triggered me because we were talking about like choices are being made as you were. So is that also like, how are we supposed to understand that? Because like technically everybody's like, oh, we want a healthy birth, whatever, but then there's many other things that happen. And is that also something we take as like, that's a process, that was a decision that's also being made? I
Okay.
guess is how-
Yeah, so I guess then the question, if I can generalize, is more so, how about a child which is born blind?
Sure.
And do I observe ahad in there too? Or ahad only applies to nice examples?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So this is the question. Father Birkan, you were raising your hand. Now you need to answer.
Oh, okay. Like when I was listening to you, it struck me maybe first time. So then the reason Quran is talking about ahad here specifically, because the idea of ahad itself is one of the maybe the most powerful and clear and brightest sign of there's a huwa behind everything. And what I mean with this, like when we look at the creation, when we look at the universe, we see all these different qualities out there, right? Beautiful or not. Like sometimes we see destruction, sometimes we see beauty, sometimes, as you said, we see, the art, wisdom, all different things. And when I look at a certain thing, one of these qualities is more, let's say, obvious, which sometimes leads us to believe that there are these different forces in place, right? The caricaturized version of this understanding is like the gods of Egypt or gods of the Greek gods, like each one of them taking care of one thing. And we do most of the times find ourselves in such an understanding, right? We say, yeah, but to be successful, you need to be, I don't know, nice to your boss. And to be healthy, you should be pleasing either, the gym or the medicine. And to be, happy in life, you either have to find a good spouse or I don't know. So we have this compartmentalization of the life based on different qualities we see. When Quran says, and don't you see that we can read these ayahs, maybe just opposite to claim, saying that, don't you see the ahadness and what it means? Like, yes, you see, let's say, beauty here when you look at the flower. Look carefully. you will see destruction in this flower as well. Right? Every time there is a cycle of energy production, you will see the destruction, which is the same as, let's say, an earthquake. Look carefully, the same beautiful thing. You will see the engineering as well. Look carefully, you will see the choice as well. Or, the health as well. Every other quality you see there, wherever you look, you will see all of them together at play. And this by itself tells you that it's just huwa, not whom. Like not they, but he, just one. So I guess attracting our attention to ahadness, and it's not something, a conclusion, but like at least not only a conclusion that, you look at the creation and you say that, okay, there must be ahad. Sometimes you look at the creation and you see ahad there when you study it, and it becomes an evidence for huwa.
Yes. Eventually, yes, it's going to become an evidence to huwa because we are expanding huwa. So if I am convinced about ahad, then it's going to strengthen the idea of huwa at the end because this is what we are expanding. Zaha.
What I was saying about how everything we see, even though something might be more obvious at a given time than the other, is because something what we're looking for, we might be able to find easier than something we might not be aware is there, right? At the same time, we can't find anything in observation that is entirely different from each other, right? Like it was saying, and how the whole discussion is pointing to, we do find commonalities and signatures. Like there's not one thing we can say object A is completely different in like the physical laws or the composition or the forces acting on it or whatever that completely doesn't apply to a different object. There's nothing in existence that we can observe that way.
At least they share the common ground of existing. So there are no two things because they share the same existence. They are the things that are within the same existence, and hence they share certain properties among themselves. And if we pay careful attention, we will see that they are sharing almost all aspects together, but maybe more or less. Kadir, you were having a comment.
Not a comment.
No comment,
A
question?
question.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is like more on the theoretical side. I don't know if you want to answer that, but one is, so for example, we start with say he is Allah. So my question is like, why do we need to really address the oneness? Like right now we're addressing how in our life we see it as one, but why is there a need to address this question in the first place? Like, why do we need there to be one? And then the other one is like the example you were mentioning about the engineering team with like one is art and they want it to be slimmer and the other is an engineering team. For me, those examples like don't kind of make sense because like when you're making those, you're putting human like intellect in those kind of examples. Like maybe one could say like gods might not act in that behavior, they might be functioning like perfectly, but this is like a theoretical question.
Okay. I mean, two good questions. Then I will read Fahim's question too. And then Atik's comment. So your first question was, remind me the question again.
Why we need to?
Okay, yes, the question is, do you need to? I mean,
Do you need to?
and I should ask that question. If Quran speaks to me with that, and I'm not concerned about it, I would say, I mean, what are you talking about? This is nonsense, and I would push it away. So nobody's forcing you really to be concerned about that question. Because I can come and start talking about you about the Bitcoin prices, and you can say that, well, don't waste my time. I'm not interested at all in Bitcoin. It's not part of my thing. Then I will go away. So if this is a concern for me, then the rest makes sense. So nobody's forcing us. But if I pay attention to myself, is it something that I am concerned about? Then I might start finding answers to that. And if we generalize the question, is human beings concerned about that question? Indeed, we are. Like if you look at what people are searching, let's initially focus on the universities, let's say. Universities trying to find who is the one that's acting, that's making the constant change. This is one way. But in other ways, we are seeking for something in our lives. Sometimes we call it happiness, sometimes we call it success, because we are chasing it. We are trying to find it. We know that there's this constant change, and I'm trying to find something or some there which I can attain this. I know that it's not here, it's not within. So now, if I present it as such, somebody comes and says, I know what you're looking for. What you're looking for is he, and he is ahad. Don't look for him in everywhere. But he is one and only, and one meaning of ahad in this sense is he is beyond this existence. Wherever you look, everything will point to him, but he is none of these. So that's why one way to take ahad could also be he is absolute, meaning he is not of type of anything that you experience. What was your second question?
Engineering, like your examples.
Oh, yeah.
Are,
examples,
all
nonsense.
of your examples are nonsense.
Yes.
Why do you come up with these?
Okay. So
No, I was just changing the example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, these examples in general are just to make, like, for example, any example that's given about the creator. Okay. Let's open a small parenthesis in here about the example. What's an example? Example is given to explain an unknown with a known, right? Creator is what? Unknown, but not only unknown, but undefinable, unknowable, if you like. Which means you cannot bring any example about whatever example you bring, it's not going to be him, right? وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, as Quran is talking about that, exactly this. He says, and the best of the methal, the examples are for him, yet he is above all of them. So it's only to, I mean, this is also about how human intellect works. Because we are, oh, is Zara here? Okay, so what does human intellect do when it comes to Iman? Let's also talk about that. Human intellect is there to, because intellects, what are we trying to do with intellect? We are trying to address the doubts and questions that arise. This is the job of our intellect. Because when I look at the things that change, I say, oh, this is changing because of this. The sun is rising, it's because of such law. Genes are happening because of evolution. So I start distributing the existence to multiple beings, right? This is a potential question, an option out there. My intellect is coming in saying that, no, if it was all different beings, then how do I explain that everything is acting to serve that small baby over here? How come trees and the sun and the moon are acting together to bring oxygen tomorrow to Zareen? So this multiplicity does not explain that. So it sweeps away. The intellect's duty is to show this contradiction and sweep it away. But once you cannot find any answer, and then you say, oh, then that must be there has to be a doer, but the doer is not here. And it's none of the things I observe can be the doer. Then intellect says, that's all I can do. I cannot define him. He must exist. So this is why the duty of intellect is really to sweep away all those claims of partnership. It's not defining the creator. Intellect is not shaping the creator, this is why examples would never work, because he is not like anything, as وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, we will get there. He is unlike anything, yet Quran keeps using examples. Why? To sweep away all those doubts, the potential other alternatives, to show the contradiction in them, and to bring my intellect to a point where it says, yes, all those alternatives doesn't make any sense. So this is why intellect's duty is to clean it up, and examples are used temporarily, not to define God, but just to clean up the way to conviction. Yes.
Do we need intellect?
Okay. Zarin.
Well, I was just gonna say, it reminded me of, something from like Solver. I think it was a video that was saying like intellect takes you kind of to the threshold of, sort of, I guess, like the divine aspects, but then you need humility to like really cross that threshold and make that sort of influence.
But it sounds very similar to this
Yeah.
leap of faith.
Yeah. So let's also talk about that. So it's not God of gaps. So what I was trying to explain is not God of gaps, but rather there must exist a maker of this single cell, of this single water molecule. But now as I observe it, I am saying that this single water molecule acting in the cell is really whomever is moving this water and making it properly function within the cell must be the one who sends the rains, must be the one who is turning the earth, must be the one who is creating the galaxies.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The key word here is must. It's not that I assume there is one who also create the galaxies or who also have control over the winds and so on. It's must. So it's not like, you with your intellect, you come to certain point, but the rest you're not sure. You just say that, oh, I will believe that this is the case. No, your intellect sweeps the alternative altogether. And what is left is must. So your intellect does not, describe or shape the conclusion, the answer, the God, but the reaching there as a conclusion is a must, not should be, or not I believe, not I wish, not that, I will choose this, and then the spirit will fill in me and make me joyful. It's not that way. It's a must.
So then it serves to build me.
Yes. So intellect is really taking me to cleaning up the way. Now that there is no other alternative is left, what is left is now I would like to call it as heart. Another choice is now being made. Am I going to admit that truth or will choose to close my eyes? It could be that, let's say, Birkan comes here and intellectually debunks all other options for us, says that this is nonsense, none of them can happen and whatnot, right? And then says, go out. So would this enforce me to say that now I believe in God? Still, human has this choice to admit that truth, but you also have the option to close your eyes. Like if you listen to yourself, you will find, this is introspectively, if we search how it is really functioning, intellect is there to clean up those false options, but admitting the correct option is still a choice that we need to make. let me just make one more explanation about why I said must. So for this single water molecule to properly function in my cell, since this human cell is also very well functioning with the finger, then finger with the hand, this hand with my whole body, me as a human being within the species, life on Earth, everything is so much interconnected. Whomever is moving this single water particle on my finger must be knowing how the sun is going to move. The one who moves this must be the one who is moving that. This is where I come to the point that in order to move that single water molecule, you have to have so much of a knowledge. It's not only a question of how to move a water molecule, but you also need to know, or the one whomever moves this must be knowing, how shall I move the sun as well? Because they are working together. From there, I say, well, such a knowledge does not exist in water. Such a knowledge that does not exist in my finger. So whomever is doing this must be knowing everything that I observe here. And I do not observe any such thing capable of having this all-encompassing knowledge. Hence, I say, none of them are like him, or he is like none of these. He must be like none of these. What is he like? I don't know. If I say he is like something, that likeness is going to be something that I see here. I will contradict myself if I say he is like nothing, yet he looks like this cushion. Like, you will have to come up with something from here. You don't have any other way to describe things. This is why intellect cannot shape him. He is the unshapable, undescribable in this sense. So my intellect cleans up the road. And this is why examples are good to make a point. We make use of them, but by definition, they have to fail because we are describing the undescribable. This is why in those examples, when Quran gives examples or when we read examples, we should look for what aspect is this example is being utilized, right? If I say Atik is like a lion, and then Qadir comes and says, well, if he's like a lion, where is his mane? Mane, right? It's called mane, like the hair. Well, I say, I didn't mean it. Like, of course, if he was like a lion, he would be like. He would have to be a perfect lion. Of course, he's a human. No. So, yes, of course, he is joking like a lion. That's what I meant, right? So, hence, looking for a proper aspect of what is being meant, and then we don't focus on the rest. Who was raising the hand? Oh, yes. Okay. Fahim's question was going back to Daratu's question. How about the person with a child born with a single eye? How do I go to oneness of the creator from that example? You are cherry picking good examples is what Fahim's atheist friend is asking. Of course, not Fahim.
I believe when he asked how would you explain that to a blind person, probably he was referring to the example we gave about, you look at the flower, it is beautiful, but at the same time you see the destruction and so on. That's what I thought, but I might be.
I don't know if this is the case, then maybe we can give another example for the blind person. So that would be the easy, that would be an easy question. But still, I guess the other question that Daratu asking is still hanging in the air. We'll get to that. Okay. Also, if you have multiple gods, the entities lose its value. What if one god promotes oppression and another promotes justice? People will lose standard moral way of living, says Fahim. So again, for like in terms of methodology, we are starting from what we observe, and what we observe is this harmony. The thing, like things are working together, and then if there were multiple entities, even I'm not calling them gods yet, because once we put the word God in there, things are getting a little murky. If there were multiple entities acting in there, then that would mean what? Multiple truths need to come into the picture. Do you agree with that statement or no? Atik, what do you think?
Absolutely,
Yes? Why?
of course.
Why?
There's no other possible reality that could happen. Two omnipotent beings creating, you know,
What if they perfectly coexist?
then are they two separate entities?
So Birkan is there, I am here, and like as I don't know if there's a similar saying in English, like the path to truth is one. Intellect functions the same. If you are going to lift something, we know that you need to put a leverage under something and push it. Birkan says, I agree, and we do it. Like 1 + 1 is 2.
Is there any proof of this in
Five.
existence to have
It
these
is a
doubts?
bus.
So yeah, this is the question. Isn't this like this? Why we say that there has to be difference of opinion among those doers?
Wait, are we asking if like there could be multiple entities and they could all just get along, like they could be one big family that's just like
Yeah,
talking to each other and
yeah, why not?
I mean, I haven't observed that in humans, so I don't really know what to think, because the problem is like, whenever I think, oh God, I'm like, if it's not a soul, like, maker of something, I'm like, how's there not chaos then? I guess, and it's, like you said, the only example I have is what's in front of me, and I don't see that working when there's like multiple makers of one thing, for example. There's always a fight for something, certain, yeah, I don't know, but that's from my human perspective.
And so our observation is leading to the point that there is a single signature everywhere, right? So which either points to one maker which has the absolute power, absolute knowledge and everything, right? Or I would go and say, well, all of these beings are infinitely knowledgeable, but they are getting on well with each other perfectly. First question is, why would I claim such a thing in the first place? What is the point of claiming such a thing? The second one, like the harmony is pointing to one, but now I'm trying to imagine a case where this every single entity, although they lead to one conclusion, actually there are infinitely many of them. What would lead me to pose such a question? What I mean by that is, on our Friday discussion, what did we do? We started with, so the example was creation of heavens and the earth and the colors and the languages of people. And we were seeing in there a harmony starting all the way from the galaxies to human beings. So there was oneness, a signature of oneness, and even within differences among people, we do observe a oneness. Like everybody's face is different, yet everybody has two eyes and whatnot. So even the difference is a confirmation of oneness. The author was making a statement saying that, look, everything is testifying to oneness of the Creator. We have seen that. In our previous Friday discussion, we also observed that multiple or infinitely many gods idea is you are then start imagining an all knowledgeable one, all powerful one, giving commands to every other all knowledgeable ones, yet being under the command of all of them at the same time. So which is a contradiction, like something being perfectly in control of things, yet being under the control of everything. In other words, something being absolute, yet being absolutely restricted. So how come are you going to accept that? So he was saying that first, everything points to oneness. Second, what your claim is, like logically, doesn't make any sense. Then he was asking the question, what makes you do such a claim? Like it's impossible. Everything points to its opposite. What makes you do such a claim? And our example back then was Schuylkill River just evaporated. Yes, I can make such a sentence in English. The English language allows making a statement like that. But is there a single evidence for that? No. Is there evidence countering that? And you can go and see that the river is there. Or unless somebody brings in an evidence for that, and all my experience says the otherwise, just forming a sentence in here was arbitrary. This was the term, right? So suggesting such a thing is becoming arbitrary. It doesn't have any support. Everything else testifies against it. So why would I go with that? This was the point then last week's question came in. Last week's question was, the previous week's question was, oh, causes seem to be creating effects. This is the evidence, right? And then the author was taking it and saying that, what do you mean? Consider yourself, which seemed to be the strongest being with power, will, wisdom within this universe. What portion of your actions do you own? You, as even the strongest cause, are not the creator of the effects. How about the rest of the causes that you observe out there? Can they really be causer or the actual creator of those effects? So he was then turning the table and saying that no, causes being tied to effects is not it, does not prove or provide any evidence for multiplicity of the makers or doers. Does this make sense? Some faces got a little lost. Okay, so far so good. No, good. Okay. So there it was 1I person question. So how do we explain? It's an important question because it happens that you are always picking up on nice examples to say that God is one. You try to explain existence of God with, oh, nice butterflies and sunrise and everything. How about a child who is born with one eye? Or how about children dying in war zones and whatnot? Like those bad examples. How do I make use of them? How do I explain them? Are they not contradicting oneness of the Creator?
I'm not saying God, I'm saying actually like expectation in nature, like, because the reason why I took birth is because we expect almost everybody to give like healthy birth, but then we see like different types of birth. Because like one is human action, like war is different to me because it's a, well, now I can't say what action, but like it's at least categorized different to me because it's something inflicted by another human in my head. But then one is like, it feels like nature, like the woman can't be any shape. She can't be like, oh, baby, you seem smaller. Like, it's just something that, I guess that's where I'm having fun.
Okay. Okay. So how about in the making of a child with one eye,
Yeah.
where human free will is not being practiced, right? So does one not acting there? Or how do I make use of that, right? That's a good question. Oh, we are off time. Mike, so let me give my 3 minutes and then we can rediscuss it later on. So I think I have two aspects to talk about that. The first one is when I look at this existence, majority of things that attract my attention are existence. Well, existence attracts my attention. Let's start from there. I observe sunrise. I observe like breathing air and whatnot, and I enjoy this. And within those existences, I observe a pattern because existence means an action. Somebody's doing something. And through doing, I find the doer. So this is how I arrived to oneness. Then, compared to an existing entity, I look at a non-existing. Well, it's not really non-existing. Still, it's an existing child with one eye now. But relative to this person, I say, oh, this is missing one eye. Otherwise, we do not really observe non-existence. Non-existence is non-observable anyways, right? So then I can ask the question, well, as I concluded that the one has been making this, and he must also be doing that, because that one-eyed child is still within harmony of this existence. What I mean by that is, even for a one-eyed child, which seems like an irregularity, like if you go to like medical school, they have a name for that disease, which means there is an order within this inorderliness, apparently inorderliness. Because they say, oh, yeah, we have seen this in this pattern. If it happens in this pattern, this is the disease, that's outcome. Even the diseases are within an order. This is why medical school says, oh, take this medicine, then it gets fixed. It's not random. That's what I'm trying to say. Even the apparent inorderliness are within an order in this existence. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to describe those diseases, for instance. So there is an order even in the disease, which means the maker is still designing it in harmony with the rest. This is why there's an order, even in this apparent inorderliness. Then I ask the question, then it's not inorderly or disorderly. It's part of the order in a different way. What did you mean by that becomes my question. As I see the big picture and see that this, like I was expecting the picture, let's say it's a huge picture with perfect harmony. And then at some portion of the picture, to my expectation, it is not harmonious. But then I need to go one step back and start reading what was the purpose of this whole picture. Like as an example, oh yeah, we were talking about this over the weekend, and it was more, okay, let me give a different example for this one. I was giving an example with Dumbledore, but let's say in a book about life, there would be some sentences, let's say if it's a 500 pages long book, there would be some words here and there which would have, like death would be a word in this book. Ugly would be a word in this book. Well, life is beautiful. Everything should be nice about. No, yes, life is beautiful, but the word ugly and death here and there, it would appear to give the message about the beautiful life to you. You wouldn't just say that, oh, how come if the book was beautiful, if life was nice, there should never exist the word death in there. There should never exist the word ugly in there. Sometimes to describe the beautiful, we use sometimes to introduce contrast in our language, or to make a point, sometimes we give examples. In isolation, they look ugly. Or you say, well, in this beautiful thing, what's the use of this word? How did it come to here? So likewise, then I start reinterpreting this orderly disorder. Why did he put this here? What does he mean by that? Could then become the question I will ask next. So this is why in my perception, first I see the bigger picture, see where it fits, and then I reinterpret the second thing. But of course, while doing this, the second part was this, even this disorderliness is orderly, paying attention to that. Because if it was totally random, yes, I would have the right to say that, well, maybe I was wrong in the first place. Maybe he was not one, you see, because I did observe something in this existence which is out of place. But even in this disorderliness, I observe order. And inshallah, we're preparing for the retreat about this one. In the injustice part, we'll talk about that, inshallah.
So, about the coherence, we usually take most things as granted, but when we think about it, a blind person not seeing, is it, it's very extraordinary actually, like very surprising. Why a blind person not seeing? We are not surprised because we see the order and the coherence in the universe, and we see the same order and coherence in the blind person as well. I mean, blind person not seeing itself, it means this creation perfectly harmonious to the rest of the universe that we observe. Otherwise, we could have a blind person who's seeing. What prevents this? I mean, just because we have, eyes and so on, we make the connection between eyes and the seeing, it doesn't make it necessary that when you don't have eyes, you will not see. Just the mere fact that you don't see when you don't have eyes, it means it's coming from the same creation, same creator. Otherwise, it would be possible that a blind person seeing. Also, like when we talk about, the food examples. So when we say something is very orderly and something is very beautiful, I think we shouldn't fall into the trap of, what is it called, intelligent design, like this, the creationist ideas and so on. So we are not talking about such ideas. We are not talking about everything is so happy. Wherever you look, you will see the color pink and nothing more. But this is not the idea. The idea is, it is beautiful in the sense that how it fits to everything else. How it fits, how it speaks to you. So when you have a blind, for instance, a child, may Allah protect, but or when you have a blind friend, for instance, you do not come to this, come near to this person and hold yourself so hard not to throw out, right? This is not the case. You have a beautiful relationship with this person. So just because, it is like a quote unquote different, it doesn't mean it is out of, the order. It perfectly fits how it is created. It perfectly fits how you feel about it, for instance. When you have a blind person as a friend, your feelings are perfectly in order with his or her condition. So you don't have a feeling, the same feeling that you have against a seeing friend. This fact itself tells it's from the same creation, same creator, sorry. So when we talk about order or beauty even, we shouldn't take it as orderly, meaning have two arms, two eyes, and so on. No, how it fits to everything around it. You see, let's say, a disgusting thing, right? And when you approach it, it smells bad. This is the order. When you see something disgusting, when you approach it, you don't want to taste it. This is the order. You want to get away from it. This is the order.
Okay, inshallah. Let's continue next week with Allahu Samad. So prepare for what Samad means. So now we talked about Ahad. Samad, eternally besought of all, which is a mouthful. So what does that mean? Inshallah, we will discuss that. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر